going to explain now the Ketubim for today, Parashat Mishpatim for Wednesday. Ketubim was, Mishneh Proverbs was written by King Solomon. There is so much wisdom in this psukim. First one, the first pasuk, Lifnei shever gaon, v'lifnei chishalon, govah ruach. Kodam tavra gavtanuta, v'kodam takla ramat rucha. This pasuk means before destruction comes pride, and a haughty spirit before a fall, which means the destruction comes as a result of a previous pride. We think about the Titanic. They were that boat that they were saying it was a boat that was it was unsinkable boat. There was such an incredible amount of pride and haughtiness associated with it. And what happened? On its maiden voyage, that specific boat that had so much pride and haughtiness associated with it was actually sank. So that's what the pasuk says, Lifnei shever gaon. Before destruction comes pride, and Lifnei kishalon, and before fall, govah ruach, which means a haughty spirit. The next pasuk, Tov shefal ruach et anavim, v'halek shalal et geim. Tavu shefal ruach ve'anvana minhu demaflig adita im gevtane. This pasuk means better a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. In other words, if you were to choose who to associate with, better to be friends with the people who are humble than to divide the spoils with those who are haughty. Because if you think maybe just short term, you might think to be with those who are haughty that you'll be able to gain for them. That ultimately you'll have a lot more to gain by being with the humble people than being with those who are proud and haughty and conceited. The third pasuk, Maskir al davar yimtza tov, uvoteach b'Adonai ashrav, demistakal b'milta ishkahtavta, v'dimsabar b'elahat uvohi. This pasuk means, he who considers matters shall find good. In other words, you have to give thought to your affairs. You have to be carefully considering your different ways. A person who's, and this we find in the book of Haramchal, that quotes Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, the first step is zehirut, to be careful. A person has to be careful, has to consider these matters. How is he going to do this or that? You cannot just do it any old way. You have to be thoughtful. And when you're that way, then yimtza tov, then you'll find good. However, the second part of the pasuk says, Boteach b'Hashem ashrav. Who is the one who's fortunate? Person who puts his trusts in Hashem. So therefore, this pasuk indicates a combination of two aspects: to have faith in Hashem, and to do your part in terms of being thoughtful and being careful of your activities and your actions, and to consider the various aspects. So you have both things here. Consider your aspects and have your part in terms of your own strategy and your own thinking about your plans, etc. But ultimately, you have to always have faith in Hashem. Ultimately, is the one that makes everything possible, to have trust in Him. The next pasuk, Lahacham lev yikare navon umetek sefatayim yosif lekah. Hakim liba itkere suchlatana udhalyan sifvate mosif ulpana. This pasuk means the wise in heart shall be called understanding, and the sweetness of lips increases learning. And Rashi explains, Lacham lev shelamat chokhmah merabo. A person who learned wisdom from his teacher, such a person will gain understanding. And what is sweetness of lips? A person who sweetens his words for his students, that's also something is good. The way that you explain, the way that you present the subject to the students, that also will be something that will add more learning. The next pasuk, Mekor hayim sechel be'alav, umusar evilim ivelet, mavua de haye suchla de mareh, umardute de shatye shatyuta. And this pasuk means intelligence is a fountain of life to he who has it. And the chastisements, in other words, the discipline, chastisement of the fools is their folly. And what does it mean here? Rashi explains, and in other words, there's a source of life is sechel miv'alav, intelligence, and the thinking about how to do things and to have the intelligence to act is such a thing is a fountain of life for the person who has it. But the suffering of the fools, the disciplining of the fools, comes of their own folly, is the result of their own folly. In other words, don't blame others. A fool person who makes foolish activity and gets punished in the process, should not accuse the others as him being the victim, but rather he brought it on himself. In other words, the discipline of the fools is a result of their own folly. And finally, the last pasuk in this Ketubim of today, Lev hacham yaskil piu ve'al sefatav yosif lekach liba dehakima mistakal pumeh u'b'sivatohi mosif kulpana, which means the heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds learning to his lips. And Rashi explains, Libo melamed et piv ledaber tzachot, which means like his heart teaches the person who's wise, his heart teaches his mouth to speak with clarity. And this was the Ketubim for today. It was from the book of Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, and this is for Wednesday, Parashat Mishpatim, Chok L'Yisrael. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.